Welcome back. You are on centralcoastradio.com. Well, we've seen a movie made about a social network. We've seen a movie about a man who created a computer empire. Now we've got a movie about someone that created something back in the 90s and the early 2000s that we all had to have. The first BlackBerry phone. Now, there's probably a generation of people out there going, "What on earth is a BlackBerry phone?" Well, prior to the iPhone, if you wanted to,
Vinyl? What's a record? What?
yeah,
What's
prior
VHS?
prior to the iPhone, if you wanted to check emails and stuff like that on a phone, you had to have a BlackBerry. They were the first of their kind. Now, director Matt Johnson has gone back and made a movie about the guys who created the BlackBerry. There's Mike, who's the tech genius, played by Jay Baruchel. There's Jim, played by Glenn Howerton, who is kind of the business know-it-all. And then there's Doug, that Matt Johnson himself actually plays the kind of lovable loser that makes the workplace fun. Let's be honest, he's the kind of guy that you wish every workplace had. Now, can you make a film about the creation of a mobile phone interesting? Well, that's exactly what we're going to discuss right now because Harley, Kyle, and I went and checked out BlackBerry. Let's start with you, Kyle. What did you think of BlackBerry? Can a film about the creation of a mobile phone be interesting for an audience?
Yeah, I really think it can. I was actually surprised by this movie how much I liked it. I didn't know what to think of this film going in because I think in 2023 we've been really overloaded with these like nostalgia fueled product or brand movies like Air or Tetris or the Beanie Bubble. And like the last one that I saw was the Beanie Bubble, and that one sucked. I got to apologize to Dave because the entire rest of the night I was talking about how bad the Beanie Bubble was compared to how good BlackBerry was. Uh, but,
And
so yeah,
Pixels movie and Angry
yeah,
Birds and any other
yeah,
piece of
like
crap.
anything like that. Yeah, but like I had low expectations going into this, but I was blown away by just the movie and how good it was. I uh, I don't just think that it was better than like the rest of the 2023 like brand movies that I mentioned, but like I think it was even better than The Social Network by far. Um, a little pet peeve of mine with movies based on true stories or whatever is how much the filmmakers of these movies have to they say they're based on a true story, but they have to completely just BS or create fake characters or storylines just to tell the story that they want to tell, where the actual true story is just a backdrop or an excuse to get their story across.
Yeah.
Like yeah, whether it's crap like the Beanie Bubble or like Oscar bait like the Social Network, they all kind of do the same thing, and it's really obvious while watching them. But I never once felt that while watching this movie. The story it isn't some nonsense about how the failings of the characters' personal lives fueled the company or anything. It felt like a real story and like how it likely would have happened, even if there were like even if there are liberties taken here and there, they never really stuck out to me. Um, the cinematography in it, which is kind of the handy cam, shaky cam, NYPD Blue kind of style.
Yeah.
Like I saw that in the trailers and I thought I would absolutely hate it, like constant zoom ins and zooms out and stuff like that. But I actually really liked it in the end.
Yeah, they did
Yeah,
the
It
it
same with
actually it
Air.
didn't
They
impose at
yeah,
all, did it? It
yeah.
was just kind of
It
it
like
was
drew
just
you
kind of
in.
there.
they did the
Yeah.
same thing with Air earlier this year as well.
Mm,
The film about the story of Nike, and it worked well in that, and
yeah.
it works well here as well.
Yeah, like it kind of has that desired effect of putting you right in the middle of the drama, not like, oh, see, isn't this dramatic? We're zooming in and zooming out, zooming in. No, like it wasn't some Paul Greengrass movie. It actually had the effect that it was supposed to have. Like the film is intense, it's dramatic, it's funny. It's all these kind of things while telling the story of these characters and this business's growth and then like spectacular failure. And like that's probably my favorite aspect of the movie. I think is the focus on its characters and how much they change over the course of the film. Like every single main character, I went from thinking about them one way, and by the end of the film, I felt completely differently. In some cases, I even went full circle and I went back to what I originally thought of them. Like you see the character of Mike, played by Jay Baruchel. How do you pronounce his name again?
Baruchel, I think.
Baruchel,
Yeah,
yeah.
Baruchel, yeah.
Baruchel, yeah. You see like him kind of grow over the film and how he starts off with zero confidence, and then his as his confidence grows, so does his arrogance. And like I really think that Glenn Howerton deserves an Oscar nomination for playing Jim. Like
Yeah.
that this kind of Wolf of Wall Street character, like complete shark kind
It's
of
like you
character.
want to hate him, but he's kind of the life of the movie as well.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
interesting.
and it's really interesting because like what Kyle was saying before about how sometimes these movies can over exaggerate. I've actually been reading a lot about Jim, the character, over the last couple of days, and if anything, they underplayed him in this movie because like even the story about him wanting to buy an NHL team, he didn't just try to buy one, he tried to buy a heap. Like it
Yeah,
was,
he kept
yeah,
trying over and over again. Like he's really kind of like an Alec Baldwin kind of from Glengarry Glen Ross kind
yeah,
of character. Just this complete like machine with no time for people. And but then you start to see like another side of him, where he starts to respect Mike and the other guys kind of in some way because they know, like Mike in particular knows more about the tech side, and he can sell that to tech guys in ways that Jim can't.
Yeah.
I was mostly surprised by the character Doug, because Doug is actually played by Matt Johnson, the film's director.
yeah.
And for half the film, I hated him because he was I thought he was just so annoying. Like he's
It's
always
the
like
character
constantly,
that Seth Rogen was bought to
yeah.
play.
It's like he won't shut up, or like he's obviously he obviously represents like the soul and the innocence of the early days of the company, but he was just so annoying to me that, and I kept seeing him as being someone that was like holding the company back. But towards the end, it becomes clear that there's really like a method to his madness, and like
That
all
journey was actually really interesting because everyone
yeah.
else has this kind of development of moving up
Mm,
as the company moves up, but he stayed exactly the
yeah.
same the whole time.
The
And
man
it's like
And
child.
you
yeah,
appreciate, you kind of appreciate the movie nights and all that stuff. You At the beginning, I didn't really appreciate that as much. I thought it was just like, yeah,
it's
this is
kind of
what
like
this
he had the
is.
biggest growth at the end because he didn't change. It was
Yeah,
so
yeah,
weird.
Yeah.
Everything changed around him, so he grew.
yeah,
He
yeah,
comes across like by the end of the movie that you just get what you get with him. Like while the other
yeah.
guys have changed, maybe not for the best, he's
Mm.
still this fun-loving geek that loves his Teenage
Like
Mutant Turtles. Like,
he's
Yeah.
always wearing the this is probably the most in the end credits of this movie is probably the most like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, courtesy of this company. Doom, courtesy of this company. It's probably
Yeah.
the most, because it just kept
The Mortal
going. Like
Kombat t-shirt was like, yeah,
yeah, like
please, one of those,
every
please. Yeah.
there's just like posters and shirts and everything all that this guy's wearing, like all this nerd culture kind of stuff. And yeah, it was just really great. And just also Michael Ironside. I'm really happy to see him given like a really great role in a film. Like I think he's a great actor, and he's still scary in his 70s.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
you mostly just see him in like cameo roles nowadays. And like he was amazing in this as this like even like even this like scary businessman character cracking the whip, like he had kind of depth to him, and you could see him kind of softening up in the scenes where Mike was like losing his mind in meetings and
yeah.
stuff.
He
So
reminded me
Yeah,
of
I found that really interesting. Like none of these characters were kind of downplayed or underwritten.
mm,
There was, yeah, like you said, depth or multiple kind of aspects to them.
mhm.
Even when they didn't appear a lot in the movie, it was like, oh,
Yeah,
Michael
okay, like
Ironside.
this throws me. Yeah.
Michael Ironside's role reminded me of Barry Corbin's role in One Tree Hill, where you've just got these young kids that are running around doing what they want to do, and then you've got this Barry Corbin coach character of Whitey who's like, "What are you doing, you whippersnappers? Get in there and do-" yeah." Like it's that kind of role. But again, and that was based on a real person that they
Yeah.
brought in to try and keep control of the company. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Don't the guy from I guess he's the guy from Naughty Dog, a video game
yeah.
production company, and he's saying, do not let he want him. Who is that guy? Yeah, don't let him near your engineering stuff. He's gonna destroy your company. It's like, yeah, it's really like, yeah, it's all across, but like story and the characters and just the intensity of it. Just like, yeah, for me, it's probably my favorite movie of the year so
Yeah.
far.
I
So
I loved the screenplay as well. I thought the
Hmm.
screenplay this is going to sound like a weird comparison, but the screenplay almost felt like you were watching an episode of The Office. Like it made it so real that it felt
Hmm.
like the scenes inside the company were fly on the wall kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
we talked a little bit about Jay Baruchel and Glenn Howerton's acting performances, but that screenplay is part of the reason why those two get such a great performance, because the lines are just so natural. Like there's a line that we can't say on air because like it's really rude, but the three of us loved it. But it summed up Jim's character in one move
Someone
where
wouldn't stop saying it. Yeah.
where this pilot turns around and says to him, "I can't do that," and he comes out with this brilliant line. But that line sums up Jim in just one line of dialogue. Like that's what he is like. And I really like that. I thought that the screenplay of this is one of those movies where if I got to nominate for Oscars, I would say Jay Baruchel, Glenn Howerton both deserve an Oscar nomination, but so do Matt Johnson and his co-writer for the screenplay as well, because I thought the
Yeah.
screenplay was really good. What did you think, Harley? Because you're someone who studied screenwriting as well. What did you think of that element of the film?
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying before. The way even kind of small characters, come in looking like a threat, but they have this other side. It's like nothing felt too short-handed, except maybe a couple of the sort of, new tech heads and engineers brought in. Kind of, it was important to get them in, and then they kind of don't do anything to the narrative from there on. But yeah, just I look it going in thinking, do I need to know the story about a phone? Like I wasn't sure this is a movie I kind of quote unquote needed to see. And I am so happy I saw it. I was so surprised how much I like this movie. And I just read as well, it's based on a book, Losing the Signal by Jackie McNish and Sean Silkoff. So I think credit must be due to them. They must have put enough in for, say, Matt Johnson and Matthew Miller to come in and say, hey, we can turn this into a script and make it amazing.
Yeah,
Because they did. I was so taken with this story. I mean, look, having Jay Baruchel as Mike was kind of a good selling point for me. As far as I'm concerned, he usually doesn't really do wrong in his films. So I was kind of happy to come and see what he did. And yeah,
yeah. And
the
we talked.
way this plays out, the characters, it almost feels like, at some parts like these a joke is being made of like these guys are the techie nerds, but they don't know how to get business done. They don't know how to run shop.
Yeah,
And then this Jim comes in who you kind of hate the moment you see him, and the choices he makes, you kind of think, oh, this guy's going to be trouble. And then it's like, hang on, he's going to be the guy that pushes him forward. But you
Yeah.
instantly think, well, that's exactly what they need. So, and my first thought was of what was it called? The Founder, the McDonald's one.
yeah.
Oh yeah, yep, yep.
And I thought, or is he going to take over and do them wrong? Like, but no, it became this perfect balancing act. Like neither party understood the other, but they knew they needed each other to become successful.
Yeah.
And I actually found it really, really an interesting story. And I thought, why would I be interested in the story of like a phone? But it was just following them. And Look, I have to say it was kind of an education because I didn't realize Blackberries were around that far back.
Mm.
Yeah.
So the setting when everything was like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and whatever, I was like, wait, when's this set? What?
Now we
I thought
mentioned
Blackberries came much later. I was like, holy crap. So, but it was good fun for me as a bit of a geek, seeing all the toys I used to have and pointing them out as as I'm watching. Oh, had that one, wanted that one. Then there was even like a Shira, Princess of Power figure with a Masters of the Universe playset, and I'm like, oh, I want that now.
now we mentioned before about the
Just
potential.
yeah,
We mentioned before about the
yes, go on.
potential of this one getting maybe Oscar nominations.
Mm.
So far, it was nominated for Best Film at the Berlin International Film Festival. It won Best Narrative Feature at the Calgary Film Festival. But the one here that I think a lot of people might sit up and take notice of, the Hollywood Critics Association Mid-Season Awards. It won Best Supporting Actor for Glenn Howerton. It was nominated for Best Indie Film, and it was also nominated for Best Picture. So whether or not that's going to turn into anything come awards season, I'm not sure. But yeah, it does have a little bit of a pedigree there when it comes to awards
Look,
going around at the
and it
moment.
definitely deserves all the attention.
Yeah.
Like I can't recommend enough that people go and see this. Like I
Well,
yeah, it was a pleasantly surprising film for a story I thought I had no interest in. I could happily sit and watch this again tonight.
so
Like
this sounds like the perfect chance or time for us to actually give our scores out of 5. Do you want to
yeah,
kick that off, Harley? What are you going to give this one out of 5?
I'm gonna give this one a 4 out of 5.
And Kyle?
Yeah, I'm going to give this 5 out of 5. I really think this is probably going to end up being my movie of the year.
Yeah, I'm giving it 5 out of 5 as well. I love the performances. I love the screenplay that led to those performances as well. And I find it kind of weird that this film isn't being promoted more here in Australia at the moment. And I feel sorry for it because of that, because it's an indie film. Unfortunately, the cast can't do interviews at the moment, so it's going to kind of sneak into cinemas in Australia with very, very little fanfare. But
Mm.
there you go, everybody. Harley gave BlackBerry 4 out of 5. Kyle gave it 5, and I gave it 5. It will have a limited release in Australia, so check for BlackBerry in your local cinema guides. But the three of us, it comes very, very highly recommended from us. So go and see BlackBerry. You are on centralcoastradio.com.